Are property management courses worth it? And if so, which one should you choose? Let's talk about that right now. Do you need a license or certificate to be a property manager? For most residential properties, you don't need a license or certification across most of Canada. And this is generally true as long as you're working directly for a landlord as a property manager. If you want to manage anything that is regulated, such as condominiums, certain commercial plazas, and anything else that is regulated and has a governing authority, you may need to be certified and licensed to manage those properties. So let's look at a couple of these courses and decide which one is best for you. Let's start off with the certificate program. This here is a curriculum from a college that basically illustrates what courses you're going to be taking in order to get the certificate from the program. The curriculum they have laid out for us here is property and building administration, strategic financial planning, human relations, building maintenance, tenancy law, project management, managing change, leading responsibility, creative and critical thinking, and accounting basics. The good thing about this program is that it will give you a pretty broad and general overview understanding of what it means to manage properties. Now, the problem I find with some of these courses is that it is a little bit too fundamental. It doesn't teach you, in my opinion, how to actually resolve certain problems. Like when they talk about rent collection, a lot of the things that they teach assume that things work, assume that the rules, that the laws all work the way they're supposed to, and it doesn't teach you how to actually navigate problematic situations if you have to contend with them in a practical way. If you're working for a corporation, for example, and somebody isn't paying rent, they're going to teach you how to send out notices, they're going to teach you how to apply to the landlord and tenant board. And for those of you that have any idea of what it means to go through the landlord and tenant board, you will know that it is a money pit for real estate investors, for landlords. It's not a good place to go. It's unlikely to be in your favor. And practically speaking, it doesn't make a lot of sense. And another problem I find with some of these courses is that a lot of the things they cover is actually already done through off-the-shelf property management softwares. For example, rent collection procedures is covered by a lot of softwares that companies will use. Lease agreements you can download. How to fill them out. There's better instructional videos, and lease agreements change all the time. These are all things that they technically teach you on a very high level that become quickly redundant when you work for a company that has any kind of software. And when it comes to how they teach human relations for property managers, yes, they will teach you how to manage employees, which is great from an HR perspective, but when it comes to managing tenant relations, you do what they teach here is not going to be very effective in actually resolving problems or issues that come up. But now I want to compare all that to our practical property management course, which has a curriculum that teaches you how to actually be a property manager, how to solve problems, how to start a property management company for yourself, and how to use this to grow and scale in real estate. So we have things broken down into 4 basic sections. Property management launch, which is administration of all kinds, including rent collection, leasing and screening, which is finding a tenant for your property, maintenance, and then we have dispute management. That covers literally everything, and anything that you will be doing within a property is pretty much covered within these programs. So let's look at each one of them so you can kind of understand what a practical property management course will teach you. So some of the things that are covered in the property management launch and administration section of things are: what is the industry like? What are some of the problems that we face? What the expectations can be like? Lead flow, forms, how to make a client agreement between you and a property owner, and then also between you and a tenant. How to onboard them and how to create accounts for your client. Basically, how to set things up as a property manager so you can run your property management as a business. And then we also talk about things that you ought to have within your business, such as certain phone lines, how to set up your IVR, how to set up emails, websites, social media, marketing, how to cover things like the banking in the back end, and how to separate accounts, how to have a trust account for rents to go into. And these are things that they don't really talk about in a academic property management program, and these are really things that I think you ought to know. And then we flow into things like leasing. In our leasing program, there is a flow to the process on how you would do things in order, such as prepping the apartment for rent, making sure that the tenant is actually leaving, how you're going to go about marketing your property, where to advertise it, how to vet a tenant, things you should look out for depending on the property needs. We also talk about different variations of leasing that you may need to do. For example, if you're leasing out student rental, single family, duplex, multifamily, these are all things that you need to be able to consider. We also talk about things like building policies. These are things that you attach to your standard lease agreements in order to further augment and bolster things so that it is in favor of you and the landlord that you're working with. The next thing that we talk about is maintenance. Now, maintenance, depending on where you're managing properties, is a big deal. And these are things that you have to be able to handle promptly and you have to have a pretty practical understanding of what maintenance is like. And the last thing that we talk about in our program is dispute management. And a lot of people often look for property management courses or how to resolve disputes only when they have disputes. Most of the problems in the disputes arise from tenants not paying rent, and therefore you as a property manager have to figure out how to collect that rent. And yes, you can call, yes, you can be polite, yes, you can send letters, but there's a lot of gray area in between where people have conversations that matter on a human level. So this is generally, in a nutshell, what a practical course will teach you and things that we will cover. As you can see, it goes through a bit of a chronological order. You know, you lease the property, you maintain the property, you have your administration along the way for rent collection and any kind of communications that you need, and then if there's any disputes, you resolve them on an as-needed basis. And that pretty much holistically encompasses what you need to know in order to be a property manager in a practical sense. If you want to know more about this, I'm going to leave the link to our teachable course in the description below. But now I want to answer that question: which course is right for you? And the answer to that is, if you want to start your own business and be an independent property manager and control your income, you should take a practical property management program like ours. Now, if you want to go and get a job, then you should go for the academic programs through colleges, where they will teach you the high-level stuff and they'll give you a certificate at the end of it that you can use to apply for these jobs. But just understand that you're capped financially if you go through the get a job approach. Whereas if you take advantage of the industry the way it is now, where you can become a property manager working directly for landlords, this will expand your real estate network. You'll be able to grow and you'll understand what it means to manage rental properties, and you'll have a home field advantage when you want to build the relationships to invest in other properties with other real estate investors. If you like this video, hit that like button, subscribe to our channel, and I will see you on the next one.